And welcome back to EDH Deck Building. I am your host, Demo, and let's talk about the Commander Conundrum, I'm calling it, or essentially the issues we've sort of been having with Commander lately, although I will say I have been talking about this since the beginnings of my channel. I've noticed a lot of other people talking about it as well. I've made a couple videos recently talking about the general issues we've been having in the Commander format. I've noticed a lot of other content creators also making videos about it as well. There is some inherent issues here, but of course those inherent issues have been there pretty much since the beginning because of the nature of the format. Of course, typical Magic the Gathering is played with 60 card decks, 2 players, of course, playing against each other. You have possibly as much as 4 of each kind of card in your deck, and you have 20 life. That's the typical way that you are playing the game of Magic. Obviously, most formats are that way, and Commander is very different. Obviously, all of those things, the basics that you have for a game of Magic are all different in the Commander format, and that is what makes it very different as a format. And as I say all the time, for me, the biggest change coming from 60 card formats to Commander is the multiplayer aspect. Now, of course, there are other multiplayer formats that you can play. Commander obviously is the biggest one, and the multiplayer aspect, I think, for me, changes how you play a Commander game more than anything. That's why, for me, rule number 1 when deck building and playing in the Commander format is don't make yourself a target, because there are several targets for your opponents, right? There's 3 other opponents for them to be targeting, and if you make yourself a target, then obviously they're going to be going after you. The multiplayer aspect can also cause issues socially, let's say. One of the things people love about the Commander format is the social aspect. You have 4 people sitting there having maybe a conversation, joking, laughing, a little bit of politics involved, all of that. But that same interaction can cause issues as well. For example, as we've all seen before, why are you targeting me, right? Why are you attacking me? Why are you going after my stuff? Really, you're going to kill my enchantment when there's a Rhystic Study over there? You're going to kill my artifact when Buddy played a first turn Soul Ring? That same social interaction that we love about Commander so much also can be very problematic. And of course, you can play it to your advantage as well, right? The politics angle. I can play the politician and direct your attention over there. Hey, look at that guy. Oh, look what he's doing. Oh, I've seen that deck before. Or I've seen that commander before. Watch out for that. So you can use that as well. And, I'm totally fine with that. Most people are. But again, it can cause issues. All these things, I think, have made Commander the most popular format in the game, but I think the biggest reason that Commander became the biggest format in the game is because it's inherently a casual format. I had a comment on one of my videos recently that I thought was kind of funny. A guy said, Commander is CEDH. It's the casual part of Commander that is the oddball. And of course, that is easily proven wrong. Of course, you would not need the name CEDH if competitive EDH was actually the normal way you played Commander. The reason that side of it, I can't call it a format because it's not actually a different format. The reason that side of it was created was to separate the really competitive side from what most people were doing, which was casual. Of course, this format started out EDH, originally called that because it was Elder Dragon Highlander. The Highlander part, if you're not aware, means you can only have 1 of each card in your deck, of course, the singleton format as we typically call it. And the Elder Dragon part was because your commander was one of the original Elder Dragons, right? Vivictus Asmati and Nicol Bolas and all of those guys. That was the commander for your deck, and I imagine eventually they moved on to other things. Because one of those dragons was the commander for your deck, for me, that answers a lot of questions that people ask about the Commander format all the time. First of all, is the game supposed to go past turn 8? If it's not, then you're not going to be casting your commander very often, are you? If the format was intended to be over on like turn 3 or 4, then why would you ever have the Elder Dragons as your commanders, right? You would never actually use them. Also, the idea that your commander deck needs to be built around your commander, well, actually, I'm not so sure about that. If that was the case, those original Elder Dragons would mean that your deck really wasn't doing a whole lot until your 8 mana commander got on the table, right? So for that reason, I think originally the Commander format would have leaned toward the method 2, where I'm kind of building around my commander, but I don't necessarily need it in play in order for my deck to work. But more to the point, it's about it being a casual format. Clearly, it was meant to be a casual format originally. And that is one of the main reasons why so many people come to this format. And in fact, it is very much the reason why I came to the format, right? I started out playing standard, very competitive, obviously. Most formats eventually just become competitive. I blame tournaments for that, but that is a discussion for another day. Started playing modern, and of course, that format is very competitive, and so competitive, in fact, I really wasn't enjoying myself at all. I just found it to be more stressful than fun. I mean, that's my opinion on it. Started learning about Commander, and I found it to be not only a great place for someone with a lot of deck building ideas like myself, but also just more casual, more fun. I got to play all these old janky cards that I wanted to play. Got to do some fun and interesting things that just would not work in a more competitive format. So that, to me, is one of the reasons, probably the main reason why Commander has become the most popular format in the game of Magic, is because it is an inherently casual format, and that's what most Magic players want to be doing. They want to get back to the kitchen table Magic, not the tournament Magic. Now, a big issue here, of course, is because Commander is the most popular format in the game of Magic, well, obviously, Wizards of the Coast is going to be giving it some attention, and obviously they're going to be printing cards for the Commander format, which is another big issue that people have been talking about recently. I'll give a shout out to the Trinket Mage here. I watched a video recently of theirs, how Commander broke Magic's design. And I agree. And in fact, I commented on that video. Commander is a weird format. Agree. Commander has broken Magic design. Agree. The fact that Commander is so different from normal 60-card formats means that if Wizards of the Coast starts designing cards specifically for Commander, and I think we're at the point now where it's more designing cards for Commander than any other format, that's going to screw with every other format, isn't it? And of course, it absolutely has. I also commented on that video, Wizards of the Coast should have never started designing cards specifically for the Commander format, but hindsight is 2020, of course, right? We can all say that now. But back then, nobody was complaining about it. Back in 2011, when they came out with the first Commander set, I don't think anyone was complaining about it. People were probably very much excited about it, and it made sense. I don't blame Wizards of the Coast for making cards specifically for the Commander format. Not at all. It makes perfect sense. Hey, there's this format out there that people love playing. Let's design some cards specifically for it. Sure, I have no problem with that. But in hindsight, if you look back now, it's like, okay, well, maybe they should have never done that. And in fact, one of the things that I think they specifically should have never done is had a card that specifically refers to your commander, like Command Tower. I don't think they ever should have done that. I don't think they should have made a card referencing the command zone. I don't think they should have made a card referencing your commander. All of those cards, I think, were mistakes in my opinion. But again, hindsight is 2020. It's easy for me to sit here and call them out now, so many years later. Although I will say, again, I have been talking about this stuff since the beginnings of my channel. Go back and watch some of my earliest videos. I do a lot of complaining there, actually, because I kind of saw this coming from a ways away. And in fact, the videos that I tend to do were trying to move away from this issue. I did my underwhelming Commander series for a long time because I was trying to move people in that direction. And guess what? Pretty much all the commanders I did on that series were legendary creatures that were never meant to be commanders. They weren't meant to be played in the Commander format. There likely wasn't even a Commander format when they were printed. Same with my 10 cards you should be putting in your Commander deck series, right? That series was enticing people to get away from the staples and get away from the auto includes and get away from the cards that Wizards of the Coast was specifically printing for the Commander format and saying, hey, here's some more interesting janky cards that obviously were not intended to be played in the Commander format, but actually might work really, really well. But where do we go from here, right? We can't just erase all these things that they've done. Again, one of the issues here is when Wizards of the Coast prints a busted Commander, well, it's just in the format forever, right? It's not a rotating format. That Commander will always exist. There are Commanders, some of the most popular in the entire format right now. They're always going to be some of the most popular Commanders in the entire format. We can't undo it. I mean, they banned golos. That's one, but they can't ban them all. That's why it's very important to catch these things before they happen, right? But we can still play more underwhelming commanders, more casual designs, less powerful commanders, less powerful staples. Of course, these are things that I've been preaching on my channel for a long time. And for me personally, just buying a lot less of these auto includes and staples for the commander format that they're coming out with. Obviously, that is something I've been doing quite a bit lately. It's up to each individual to do as they like, but since the beginnings of my channel, I've been trying to keep this format casual because I think that is how it was intended, and that's how most people I think would prefer it. You guys let me know in the comments below what you think. That is it for today though, and thanks for tuning in. Ugh.